right, here we are. Welcome back, everybody, for another edition of the Rush Report with your two favorite losers, Nick and Keith, trending toward relegation. Nick, how are you this week?
It's Wednesday. I didn't get Cortland Sutton, so my team's not even any better than it was last week.
Gotta love sports. Gotta love fantasy football. And now we're dealing with bye-week frenzies and bye-week bonanzas.
That's always complicating things.
It is. So we're going to jump into Rush Report land, but there should be something that you're happy about last week.
I still lost.
Yes, but in our pick'em, our week 5 results, I went a measly 7-5, and you went 9-3. I think I can count on one hand the number of times you've beat me in a weekly pick'em.
I am now the Schwami.
Don't go that far, because on the season, I'm still 4 games ahead of you, 36-24 to your 32-28.
Hey, but 500 something, I guess.
Hey, finally breaking 500 for a pick'em result. So thought that would make your week this week, and maybe you'll be able to feel better about fantasy football at some point.
Poor unfortunate souls.
Oh man, that might be the theme of the night. So looking at it, there's some big games this week in the bigs. Some top teams playing each other this week, and there were some heartbreaking losses last week and some surprise upsets. Dan got his first win. Bryan beat Darren. So there were some surprises last week.
Yeah, good surprises. Dan's off the schneid. You
almost won.
I needed another touchdown by both the boys.
But we're gonna jump into it. And this week's game of the week, I don't think it can be overstated. You ready for it?
Let's see what we got.
This week's game of the week, the Madden Boom against Super Jamario. Jeffrey and Craig.
Well, it's always a healthy matchup.
This is always a good matchup, and Jeffrey's team got better this week.
Cortland Sutton. I hope he tears his ACL in the first play of the game.
But he did have the number 1 waiver priority.
He waited.
He did. So that's gonna come out and save him. And he is starting week 1 of the buys. He loses a heavy hitter in Dameon Pierce.
He needs to lose something. So hopefully that helps.
Yep, but this is a great matchup. Mahomes against the Bills. We've seen what Mahomes does against Buffalo. Mahomes is showing up for big games this year.
Yeah, he's putting up solid points. I mean, last week he had 4 touchdown passes to
Travis Kelce. Yep, and at some point Aaron Rodgers maybe will get it going.
Yeah, we'll see. Maybe against the Jets.
Hey, he does seem this year to be playing better in Lambeau, so at least in the second and third quarter.
I mean, he doesn't do well, against other New York teams, so we'll see.
Yep, but the running back matchup in this is actually a quite interesting running back matchup.
Yeah, I mean, Ramon Stevenson is the only healthy back in New England.
Mm-hmm.
Christian McCaffrey, but that's a formidable defense to go against. Austin Eckler against the Broncos, and then A.J. Dillon against the Jets. I mean, it's a slight edge to Jeffrey.
I think because of Eckler against the Broncos, I would probably agree with you, but I wouldn't be surprised to see McCaffrey actually do something this week with new head coach, because Matt's rule is over in Carolina.
Oh, you and your puns.
It was my bad dad joke of the week.
But I mean, and with PJ Tucker, I mean, I think McCaffrey has a different element to the game.
Yeah, and I think teams have shown that if you run away from Aaron Donald, you can run the ball in that Rams defense. So it's interesting to see what we're going to see. Now, wide receiver actually is an interesting breakdown. Darnell Mooney, actually, he's starting to get the ball more a little bit from Justin Fields a little bit more consistently. It's still Chicago's offense, and they're not great, but I understand why he's starting Darnell Mooney this week. And then Devontae Smith. Devontae Smith turned out to be a true number 1A receiver, at least in my opinion. He has played well this year.
He has. I mean, him and A.J. Brown have bounced back and forth, but both of them have proven to be very consistent players and points.
Mm-hmm. Devontae Smith kind of reminds me of Juju Smith-Schuster's first 2 years in Pittsburgh when Antonio Brown was the number 1. Great, solid player, and proving that he doesn't need to be the number 1 to be productive. And then Cortland Sutton, as we can talk about. Cortland Sutton has kind of become Russell Wilson's new favorite target when he needs yards.
True. Which I do agree he's kind of half been.
So then on the other side, you have Jamar Chase. Jamar Chase will have possibly Marcus Lattimore follow him. Marcus Lattimore in the injury report this week, so is he fully healthy? I don't know. But I do like Mike Evans' matchup against Pittsburgh and Chris Olave against the Bengals. Olave is starting to be the true number 1 there in New Orleans with Michael Thomas not being available and being healthy. So I actually give the edge of Craig's wide receivers over Jeffrey's this week.
I would too. I mean, I don't like the Broncos defense, or not defense, their offense too much. And Darnell Mooney is still kind of boom and bust-ish.
Yep, he's a big question mark. Now, when it comes to tight ends, I don't think this is close. Kittle's not the same guy that he has been the last several years. And Mark Andrews has he is the number 1 tight end in fantasy, even though Kelsey just had 4 touchdowns Monday night.
Oh, no, I would agree with that. It's different. It's a different offense, really.
Yep. Now, Dallas's defense is an interesting play. We haven't really talked defenses much this year, but Dallas's defense is the number 1 defense in the NFL right now. The auto pick that we all made fun of is actually a force.
I do agree it's a bit of a force. I'd be a little concerned with that offense. See how they truly match up this week.
Yeah, and I think one of the things that has helped Dallas, they've had to rely on that defense a little bit more, so they've stepped up their games. But Micah Parsons, and he's becoming the next Aaron Donald, in my opinion.
Yeah, I can see that. There's a lot of different players who are just coming into their own now.
Yeah. So looking at this, who do you like? Who do you not like? And can you continue your great run of picking the matchups right?
Well, that's a very good question. I think Jamar Chase and then Mike Evans combo will be enough to put Craig over this week. There's some serious doubts that T. Higgins is going to play this week. So that I think that would boost Jamar Chase's values just enough to put Craig over the edge.
So while I agree with you what you're saying about the receivers, I think the quarterbacks is the huge difference. Aaron Rodgers hasn't been hitting that 18 mark at all this season. He's been averaging about 12, 13 points a week, and I think 18 is a little bit high. When you look at that, I like Mahomes' number of 19. I think actually that's underscoring it because Mahomes always plays well against the Bills, and it's in Arrowhead. We know what he does in October. I'm going to take Jeffrey in this matchup because of the quarterback when it comes right down to it. So we're starting off different already, and I love it.
Difference of opinion.
All right. Up next, we've got Chad against Dan. Now, Chad has had some tough luck lately, not pulling through in wins. And it's hard when you draft Cam Akers and you expect him to be a starter. I understand that. It's hard to deal with that when you draft a guy who you expect to be a true number 1 running back and he's not. And Dan has just had a string of bad luck getting outscored. His team is better than 1-4.
Absolutely, Dan's just one of those scary guys kind of sitting in the wing right now.
Mm-hmm. I think we're going to start seeing Dan actually make a climb a little bit and potentially make a playoff push even after an abysmal 1-4 start.
It's a very good possibility with that. But as far as quarterback play, what do you think this week?
Kyler Murray just runs around a lot. I don't love what I see in Kyler Murray. I know he's a top 10 fantasy quarterback because of the fact that he can run. But it's in Seattle. He's struggled against Seattle. In Seattle, it's a hard place to play. And the Cardinals' defense hasn't proven that they can stop anybody. I know that they played well against Philly's offense last week, but that was at home. And I actually like Geno Smith and give him a little bit of an edge this week over Kyler Murray.
Who would have thunk?
Oh, my goodness. IK Enkapali, that's who would have thunk. An old school Jets reference there. Come on.
Nah, I recognize the name. For
those of you who don't know, he's the one that broke Geno Smith's jaw and gave Ryan Fitzpatrick the job for the Jets back in 2012, 2013. Or no, 2015, my bad.
All over money.
Yep. So I actually like Geno Smith. I can't believe I'm saying this. It feels wrong.
It does. I don't like Chad's running back prospects, though. Cam Akers and Devin Singletary, it's a little worrisome. Mm-hmm. Dan's got the little edge there with Mostert and Mixon.
Yep, and he's got options if Mostert doesn't play. Mostert didn't practice today. Nobody's sure what that is when you read injury reports, and he's got Darrell Henderson on the bench. I like Darrell Henderson this week, even though the Panthers' run defense is better than advertised. They're just never up, so teams just run all over them, and I look for Darrell Henderson to actually have more touches this week.
Yeah, I mean, wide receivers is pretty interesting this week with Corey Davis against the Packers, secondary, Stephen Diggs against the Chiefs, Deontay Johnson, which, mind you, he's starting again. Mm-hmm. Marquise Brown, MVS, and Mike Williams. It's really hard to find one that you truly like. I mean, you might give the slight edge to Chad.
I give Chad a little bit of the slight edge just because of Stephon Diggs, and that's the only reason. He's the only true number one that I'm seeing here. Deontay Johnson is not he does not have a good matchup this week. The Buccaneers defense is really good. That secondary is good, and still coming with a rookie quarterback making his first home start. I look for Kenny Pickett to even struggle a little bit against the Bucs defense, which means Deontay Johnson will struggle a little bit. But I will give it to Kenny Pickett. He is looking Deontay Johnson's way. So maybe there's a little bit of value there just because of volume.
There's the value. He's supposed to be the top guy.
Yep.
He hasn't really developed any mojo with anybody. But Travis Kelce has the edge here. I mean, Cameron Brate is doing nothing behind the rookie tight end right now.
Yeah, Cade Otton.
Yeah, so there's really no help there. But who do you think of this week?
It's hard to pick against Dan. Kelce right there. I mean, he negates Stephon Diggs, I feel like. And Joe Mixon against the Saints. The Saints have given up some big runs this year. And Mixon, they've really stressed giving Mixon the ball to try to take some of the pressure off Joe Burrow the last couple weeks. So I like Dan just for the fact that there's a couple other pieces there that are solid pieces, and not as many question marks.
Yeah, I like Dan. He's just got a little bit more than say Chad does. There's less questions.
Yep. So Dan's march to the playoffs started last week and continues on this week, just like Sherman's last march. All right. Up next, we've got Captain Kirk against me. Caleb and my matchup against Caleb. I went back and forth this week. Do I start Kenny Pickett? Do I start Carson Wentz? Both of them are playing a little bit tough defenses. I don't trust the rookie, even though he was the Steelers' number one pick. I'm not trusting Kenny Pickett this week and sticking with Carson Wentz one more week, even though Ron Rivera this week came out and started to question quarterback play there in Washington.
But who are you going to start? Taylor Heineke?
Sam Howell.
Well, there's always that option too. I mean, but
start the rookie.
Got to be in complete desperation mode at that point.
Yeah. But then you go to the other side, Kirk Cousins. I know we make fun every week about Kirk Cousins being kept, and Kirk Cousins is not a keeper, but he has played well this year.
True, he has. And then, I mean, like, the Dolphins they're not the same without Tua. There's no energy.
Yep. And it looks like this week Skylar Thompson's going to be starting again this week, so that's a little bit of a concern. And Tyreek Hill, even though he's not on the injury report, I did read something this week or today that he's not fully healthy, and he was in a walking boot Sunday after the game. So some concerns there for Tyreek Hill.
Absolutely. As far as running backs, we're looking at Melvin Gordon and either Eno Smith or Kareem Hunt in his case versus Cooks and Harris. I mean, Cook is the only one I really like right now with you. Mm-hmm. Actually, out of this whole running back group, that's the only one I truly like.
Yeah, I mean, I do like Kareem Hunt. Kareem Hunt does have value because he's getting every three series. He's getting the ball consistently, and he's their third down running back. So Hunt's value is a little bit higher, and some people don't like him as much as I do, but I do like what I've seen out of Kareem Hunt this year.
I mean, you also got Benjamin, who might be starting this week, but to be determined on that one.
Now, at pass catching, I'm trading away CeeDee Lamb, going with Amari Cooper. The Patriots' defense is not what it has been. Jacoby Brissett. Is this a revenge game for Jacoby Brissett?
It might be. I mean it's gonna be a matter of Bill Belichick made the Lions' offense look pathetic last week, so you never know.
Yep. But then Terry McLaurin, and I'm going with the rookie George Pickens this week. I went back and forth. Do I go with Garrett Wilson? Do I go with George Pickens? Kenny Pickett is throwing and looking for George Pickens with the Steelers offense. So I'm looking at a little bit more value and volume there with George Pickens over Garrett Wilson.
I get that. Yeah, you got Gabe Davis. I mean, you mentioned Tyreek Hill and his possible injury with Christian Kirk. Christian Kirk has taken a nosedive.
The last 2 weeks, yes, he has.
So it'd be a matter if he actually rebounds this week. But you got Kyle Pitts versus Dallas Goedert. Goedert still has this slight edge.
I agree, and going up against a good Niners defense, but they're going to be lacking Nick Bosa this week. So if Pitts is healthy, I actually look for Pitts to have a little bit more volume go to him this week, because Arthur Smith has said that he wants to get Kyle Pitts more involved once he gets healthy. So I know I'm kind of living on a prayer with Pitts, but you got to take I don't know if it's coach speak or if it's just one of those things that he really does want to get the ball. And Arthur Smith was known as a coordinator for getting the ball to his tight ends.
Yeah, we'll have to see. I mean, it's one of those things that's still a little early to find out.
Yep. So Caleb's got some holes that need to be addressed. There's no doubt about it. Rashad Penny's out for the year. Daniel Carlson's on his bye, but there's kickers out there, and he can easily put in Kareem Hunt or Eno Benjamin. No issues there. So once again, I'm not going to pick against myself. I feel like I can put a team out that's formidable. And maybe undervalued a little bit if Carson Wentz actually decides to go to Terry McLaurin. I mean, that's a big if at this point, but hey, you got a top 10 receiver in Terry McLaurin. You got to get him the ball.
Yeah, I mean, I can't really pick against you right here. I mean, I could, but I mean, I'm going to go in theory that Kirk Cousins does bad Kirk Cousins things, so I'm going to pick you.
Oh, boy, where I'm losing. All right. Oh, look at what we have next. I did not do this on purpose. It's
This one
just
needs to be
literally the
skipped.
way.
It's so bad to even look at.
Nick, how embarrassed were you that you only scored 42 points after all of Sunday's games?
I'm awesome.
I can't believe you're going Justin Fields.
There literally is nobody else.
I know.
I tried to justify picking anybody else besides Justin Fields. There literally is. I'm not putting Jacoby Brissett against the Patriots. I'm just not doing it. There's nobody. Like, I could have picked a Miami quarterback and hoped better, but there's nobody.
Oh my goodness! But looking at this, I mean, Jalen Hurts is far and away superior to Justin Fields. It's not even close.
Justin Fields is trash.
And Alvin Kamara looked healthy last week. He was getting the ball, and the Bengals are suspect against the run. I like the bounce back that I'm starting to see in Kamara. I don't know what your thoughts are about that.
Last week was a promise for him going in the right direction, so it's a matter of he can build off of that for his personal.
Yeah. And then Zeke is Zeke, but I don't like Zeke's matchup this week.
I don't like either one of the matchups for. I think Hurts is still going to have a good day, but you got Hurts and Zeke against each other's teams, and so I think that's kind of going to be hurting them a little bit.
Yep. And on the other end, I think it's interesting you're going Mike Boone. Do you know something that I don't in Denver?
I have no idea what I'm doing.
I get it. Is it Latavius Murray? Is it going to be Melvin Gordon? Is it going to be Mike Boone? Or is it going to be some rookie that we've never heard of, like a few years ago when it was Philip Lindsay? I don't know, but it's do or die at this point for us down at the bottom. I don't hate it.
I would like to see Davis Prince play, but there's no guarantee he's going to play this week.
Yeah, he's healthy, but he might be a healthy scratch. So ETN, we've talked about him throughout the year. He's not getting the volume. He's not seeing as much, but I think there was a little bit of promise last week, though.
He's looking like he's getting 50% carry, so we'll see. Colts are a bad team.
Yep. And then your darling, Brian Robinson.
My boy. Yeah. He'll be just fine against the Bears.
Yeah. And then looking at wide receivers, Higgins very well might be out. But I look at Adams' bench. He's got Chris Godwin. I like Chris Godwin. Steelers defense isn't good at all.
Oh, I honestly hope that he rolls with Noah. He ends up rolling with Noah Brown because everybody else is hurt, and that Jalen Waddle just puts a big fat goose egg out.
And Jerry Jeudy does the same.
Jerry Jeudy has been horrible this year.
And Romeo Doubs, is he going to actually catch the ball this week?
The Jets, there's a distinct possibility.
We also said that when Pittsburgh played the Jets, too.
Yeah. This is just a lot of hope and prayer.
Yeah, I will say I do like the edge that you have with Gerald Everett as your tight end.
I have an edge somewhere, so you know.
But unfortunately, Nick, that's not enough an edge for me to want to pick you. It's got to be Adam this week. Unfortunately, if you win, I'll send you chocolate.
If there's one consistency that's going to happen is that I'm going to pick against myself again.
Oh man. Talk about embarrassing this year for us.
Oh, guys, this team has Javonte Williams as a keeper. You'll probably get the number 1 overall pick. And yeah, don't keep Travis Etienne.
All right. Next, we've got Brian's matchup with Christy. Now, Christy took a tough loss last week, but she's getting some help back with Jonathan Taylor. And Tyler Allgeier, he did look healthy. Looked like he could be a guy. Maybe.
Still early.
Potentially. Maybe. Maybe not, but maybe. And Bryan coming off a huge upset last week.
Yeah, happens.
But looking at this, 18 points for Tom Brady. Is it just me, or does that seem high? I know the Steelers' defense isn't good, but Brady hasn't been an 18-point per game quarterback this year.
18 is the number of millions of dollars he'll be paying Giselle in alimony per year.
You've been waiting to get that in, haven't you?
There we go. We got it.
Oh, my. And then Josh Allen. Josh Allen can't be stopped.
That's the thing. It's like, I really do think Josh Allen will have a better game than Patrick Mahomes in that matchup.
It very well might be. I mean, Buffalo is more desperate to win that game than Kansas City. They've said it that if they want home field, they've got to beat the Chiefs. And I think Josh Allen's going to start taking things personally. And remember what he did to Kansas City last year in the playoffs.
I mean, that's what I mean. Is I think he's the better guy to have that matchup. But I mean, it'll definitely help Christy out.
Yeah. Looking at running backs, I'll take Christy's running backs. I think at some point Jonathan Taylor is going to get right. I think last week he was close to playing, and they just decided because it was a quick turnaround, they decided to just call him out, let him rest a week, and I think that's going to help that offense really might get on track. They were starting to run the ball last week on a bad Thursday night football game. Philip Lindsay was running the ball a little bit, and I think you're going to start seeing Jonathan Taylor get involved, and I think you're going to see Jonathan Taylor be Jonathan Taylor this week, just to win.
Considering who he's playing against, I think he's got a shot. I mean, the Jaguars are a better team this year, but still.
Yeah, the Jags defense is good, but I still like that offensive line.
JT is the only running back that I really like on the board.
Yeah, I don't like Rashad Wright. I don't like James Conner. CEH has some value because of trick plays down in the red zone, and there goes Nick. He's gone. Bye-bye.
Well, yeah. After my picks, no, but yeah, CEH, he's very touchdown dependent, but.
Yep. Now, pass catchers, Deebo Samuel and Adam Thielen. Thielen has really come on strong the last couple weeks. He's been averaging his projected points, and I'm a Thielen owner in a couple leagues, so I'm happy to see that, but man, Deebo Samuel is something special. Man, Deebo.
He is something special. I mean, with the Falcons this week, I mean, it does help Bryan out a lot.
Yeah. On the other side, Christy's got DK Metcalf, who DK Metcalf hasn't lost a step with Geno Smith as his quarterback. I like that. And Christy's dealing with a little bit of buys with Amon-Ra St. Brown going on bye. That does hurt her. What's the word that I'm looking for? It just left the room. Versatility. She's got to go Allen Lazard.
Not horrible compensation or secondary, but.
Yep. Tight end, I feel like, is a little bit of a wash. Is Dawson Knox healthy? Is he going to play? That remains to be seen. He's questionable. He was out last week. But I would say that he's probably playing this week.
Well, I would agree with that.
And Tyler Higbee, we said it last week. Tyler Higbee is Matt Stafford's fourth read after he's looked for Cooper Kupp 3 different times in that offense. Read 1, Cooper Kupp. Read 2, Cooper Kupp. Read 3, Cooper Kupp. Hey, look, there's Tyler Higbee.
Yeah, the fourth option in that offense.
He's the fourth option between Cooper Kupp A, B, and C.
Pretty much.
So I do like Higbee, though. Just a little bit there. Now, defenses. I don't like Kansas City's defense. I don't like the Giants' defense. Neither of these defenses do anything for me this week.
No, I don't really think they're going to play too much of a factor. And it doesn't really appear the kickers are going to do a whole lot either. Look at their matchups on the offenses that they're a part of. I think Younghoe Koo did almost nothing for me in another league last week.
Yeah.
But with all that being said, I mean, it's probably going to be Christy this week.
I would agree. I think Christy gets off her 2-game losing streak, gets back in the win column, and continues her fight to not lose the championship by less than a point. All right. Coming up next, I almost made this the matchup of the week, the game of the week, just because this is a huge matchup. I mean, Darren is second now. Dave still is ridiculous, and his receivers are carrying him. but also Miles Sanders has picked up speed and has played well. So this
Breece Hall had a great week last week.
He did. And he's going against the Packers, and I wouldn't be surprised to see if he has a whole bunch of yards again.
Yeah, considering the Packers can't stop, runny nose, nosebleed, whatever analogy you want to really use.
Yeah. And but let's start at quarterback. Lamar. Is that all? We're good. Next.
Lamar.
Running backs. Breece Hall and Miles Sanders. Miles Sanders does have a rough matchup this week with the Cowboys. Their run defense has been very good this year. So, but I kind of like Miles Sanders in the pass catching game. Because look for him to get some screens this week to try to stave off some of the blitz from the Cowboys.
Yeah, I mean there's the added value there, but let's look at your Kenneth Walker. Walker.
Kenny Walker? Yeah.
You didn't wait long enough.
Yeah, well, I did text Darren this week. I should have known not to make a deal with him because at some point it was going to backfire, and Rashad Penny breaks his leg.
Yeah.
It was a leg breaker.
Yeah.
You're welcome, Darren.
But Darren he's got a nice three-headed monster going on now.
Darren has a wealth of running backs. What can I say? What can I say except you're welcome?
Oh, Darren. And my phone was just going, or my computer was just going off, so I had to turn the volume way down.
I'm stunned. I look at this and think, what could have been? But looking at pass catchers, A.J. Brown, Cooper Kupp, DJ Moore, I can't argue with Dave's receivers at all.
I love his wide receivers. He's got a good core there. I mean, and DJ Moore, we'll see what happens with PJ Tucker playing. But I'm really
2.5 receivers.
He is, and AJ Brown could be a 1.5.
Yeah, so I'm not worried about that. But CeeDee Lamb against the Eagles, he's going to have Darius Slay follow him this week, shut down. I don't love the play of CeeDee Lamb this week. Darius Slay shut down Justin Jefferson, who I think is the best receiver in the NFL right now.
Yeah.
And Drake London against the Niners, that defense is starting to get healthy in the secondary again. Traveris Ward, Justin Verrett, a couple other guys that are coming back. I don't like that matchup. So I give Dave the advantage on his receivers.
Yeah, I mean, honestly, if you're really looking at this matchup, what it's going to come down to, even though it's no contest, is the quarterback play. I mean, I know there's basically between the wide receivers and the running backs, both of them kind of offset one another. But like that quarterback play is going to be really the deciding factor.
I disagree because I think tight end does play a big role in this. Darren made a good move today, a move that I was going to make, but he beat me to it in adding Evan Ingram. Evan Ingram has kind of gotten reborn in Jacksonville because they're using him more as a receiver, and it looks like Freiermuth will be out this week. And I look for Darren to put Evan Ingram in, and I like Ingram more than I like Freiermuth, and I like Ingram more than I like Tyler Conklin.
I would agree with that. I did forget that he did make that move this week.
Yep, he literally beat me to it today. So congratulations, Darren. He caught me napping once again. But when it comes down to it, I still like that three-headed monster in Lamar Jackson. For Darren over Dave, it's nothing against Dave. I don't trust Zach Wilson. He could have 20 points. He could have 5. I don't trust Zach Wilson.
You can't trust him.
And I understand why he's starting him. Stafford's not much better.
No, I mean, it's a better matchup, but yeah. I mean, but I think this is going to be Darren this week.
Uh-oh, Nick. We've agreed on the last 4 matchups.
No All offense, right. Dave. I think it was a formidable matchup last week, but
All right, now we're into our last bigs matchup. Steph against Jeromy. And got to pay attention to the buys. That's all I'm going to say. We see here a lot of the bye week starting to come through in this matchup. This is really the first matchup that we've talked about that deals with the big bye.
Yeah, and if you're not paying attention to it or accounting for it, it's going to come and bite you.
Mm-hmm.
I mean, she hasn't started a lineup just yet.
Yep.
But there's really not a whole lot there.
Yeah.
I mean,
Burrow against the Saints, he could be on his back. It's important to remember, I forget this every single week. Sacks, we lose a half a point for every sack that the quarterback takes. So that is not common in most leagues where sacks hurt you. And Burrow sacks against the Saints, that does concern me a little bit.
I mean, it came to roost really the first week of the season, kind of to see where the offense was. But I mean, Herbert against the Broncos, I think it's going to really hurt him because how much is he going to be upright as well? I mean, you got Eckler, but Burrow is really concerning.
Yeah, I mean, I don't think this is much of a contest. Looking at the buys, looking at who's available, I mean, could start Taysom Hill with 2 tight ends, but Chuba Hubbard, he's not what we thought he was going to be. Justin Jefferson, he's number 1, even though he's going up against Xavier Howard this week. Look for him to take a step back a little bit. And Jeromy does have a good trio of running backs in Aaron Jones, Tony Pollard, and Jeff Wilson.
Yeah, it's really impressive the fact that Tony Pollard is doing good things.
Yeah, but I think if you watch the Cowboys enough, because they're on prime time every single week, you started to see at the end of last year, Tony Pollard was the running back to have in that backfield, not Zeke in fantasy.
Mm-hmm.
So
I would agree.
I think, again, we're going to agree for the 5th straight time in the bigs, looking at it.
With Mr. Jeromy.
With Mr. Jeromy. All right. So, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7. My lines got messed up, and it looked like we only had 6 matchups. So, that brings us to the end of the bigs, and we're going to transition here to the Wii League. Last week in the Wii League, it's fun to see the standings. And Nate's team is very scary. That's all I can say.
Yeah.
But this week's matchup...
he's not the game of the week.
But he's not... And he very well could have been. That matchup's coming up next, but this week's matchup is Lincoln's against Sam's. This is a big matchup. I know the points aren't necessary. They don't look there. But if you have to look at the bye week, DeAndre Swift, he's not going to be in the lineup. And Lincoln has the points to replace DeAndre Swift. So I think this is going to be a good matchup in the Wii League.
Yeah, I mean, right now it looks like maybe a 7 to 10 point swing.
Mm-hmm. I'm looking at names that we didn't talk about. We really didn't talk about Saquon Barkley. Saquon Barkley, he looks like an all-pro right now. He's the reason why the Giants are 4-1. It's no doubt about it. But I really like what I've seen from him this year.
Yes, he's got a shoulder thing going on right now, but he should be just fine, it looks like.
He's healthy.
Well, I'd rather be his shoulder than all the other nasty stuff that he's been dealing with over his career.
Yeah, and then looking at it, the other name, Daniel Jones. Have you been surprised by what Daniel Jones has done this year?
Yeah. It was rather impressive to see him last week. I was running the sound booth, the computer, so I was able to keep track of it a little bit. He was very accurate, and he was doing what he was supposed to do.
Yep. So Daniel Jones, he's not great. He's not an elite quarterback, but he's serviceable.
He is serviceable as a fantasy quarterback.
Yep. So looking at that, does that change how you view this matchup?
No, I still think Jalen Hurts is the man to have this week.
But overall, do you think Sam is the winner in this matchup, or are you going to give it to Lincoln?
With all the things that we've already talked about, I'm gonna give it to Sam. I mean, I would like to give it to Lincoln. I don't like Christian Kirk right now. He may have a bounce back. Mike Gesicki is a little bit of a question mark because of quarterback play. And Deontay Johnson or Jalen Waddle basically is your replacement. So I'm going to go with Sam, just because there seems to be a little bit more of a known.
See, I'm actually going to take Lincoln. I think he makes the right changes. I like his options to put in. What does it for me is Jalen Hurts and Saquon Barkley. The Ravens' defense is not Wink Martindale's defense. They're a zone read defense. They're a zone defense now, and teams have proven that you can run on the Ravens' defense. So I look for Lincoln to have a bounce back week and actually win this matchup. All right, so as promised, we have Nate's matchup with Mark.
Do we really have to break it down? Because I think we kind of both agree on this one.
I think we probably do, and there's not much that we can really say that we haven't said. Dalvin Cook, we talked about him. Does Taysom Hill do what he did last week again this week?
No.
Does he do half of what he did last week?
I think he'll get the 10, 12 points projected.
So looking at that, you put him in for Darren Waller, who's on a bye week. Garrett Wilson, he could do something, but I think Jair Alexander probably covers him, which negates Garrett Wilson this week.
Yeah, I mean, that's why it's like, it looks like the formidable Nate will be once again formidable.
I agree. Nate's team is very good. Nate's making a statement. If only he would make his statement in poetry.
No, we don't want to go back to that.
All right. Up next, we've got Brandon against Mark. Now, Brandon's team played very well last week. Got a great win, surprise win, because both you and I actually picked against Brandon last week. And is Brandon making a push toward promotion?
I think Brandon is going to continue to push all year. I mean, he's making better moves this year.
He does, but it's also easier to make better moves when there's only 11 teams instead of 14. It's a big difference in the player pool. So just looking at that.
Yeah, I think one person we probably haven't really touched base with is probably the James Robinson situation. I know, I think we briefly mentioned ETN and him splitting reps last week.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, they're really at a 50-50 split. ETN's your third down guy. Robinson is your first and second down guy, but he's proven that he can still break off big runs.
True.
Which keeps his value. The other name that we didn't talk about is J.K. Dobbins. Dobbins has been very good this year, now that he's back healthy, and I look for him to continue to gain ground against a Giants defense that does give up the run, and the Ravens getting Ronnie Stanley back. I know nobody cares about offensive linemen in fantasy football, but man, to have the best left tackle or the best right tackle back in the game in Ronnie Stanley, the All-Pro, is going to do wonders for Baltimore's run defense, and that is like vinegar spewing from my mouth.
You know how much you love the Dirty Birds.
I hate the Purple Birds.
With that said, who do you like?
Looking at that, I do like Mark's team. Again, looking at quarterback play, Justin Herbert has more upside than Aaron Rodgers. Even though Rodgers is playing against the Jets defense is better than advertised, I think, this year. Robert Saleh does have them playing the right way, and the Broncos need or not the Broncos, the Chargers need Justin Herbert more than the Packers need Aaron Rodgers.
Agreeable.
So for you,
Well, Mark.
well, that was anticlimactic.
Well, there's nothing really to build to. I mean, there's enough there.
All right. Next, we've got Dan against Matt. Matt hasn't set a lineup quite yet. Neither of these teams have. It's Wednesday. We know that things change, but just scheduling wise, that's what worked out for us this year. We see Captain Kirk again.
Your boy.
I hope Kirk Cousins does nothing this week. But it's a 1:00 game.
Yeah, did Daniel set a lineup last week?
Yeah. Yes.
Okay, so.
Yep, he has been setting lineups. The things that I see, Brandon Ayuk. Ayuk looks like the first rounder that he was drafted to be in San Francisco with Jimmy Garoppolo at quarterback.
Yeah, he's doing better though. So that's really all that they're looking for.
Yeah. And then on the other side, Khalil Herbert and David Montgomery. Who's the number one back there in Chicago now?
David Montgomery. Khalil Herbert has the more explosiveness, and he's a better pass catcher than David Montgomery.
True.
And I want to say it's probably like a thunder and lightning situation.
Yep, you're probably right. Khalil Herbert's your pass catcher. David Montgomery is your run between the tackles. So, looking at that, is it Matt or is it Dan? This is hard, Daniel. It's hard to look at this matchup because there's some holes in both lineups that I don't know if they get fixed or not. In Matt's, we know they do.
Matt is the known here, so I'm gonna stick with Matt.
Agreed. Daniel has a track record of not getting lineups in on time. Nothing against him, but I also think Matt's team's a little bit better. Josh Allen. JA17. All right, last matchup. We come to the end, and we see Shane's matchup, Mr. Kamish versus Micah
Cobb.
Micah's got some questions that he's got to deal with now with Rashad Penny being out for the season.
Who does he turn to? I think he's going to have to turn to a wideout this week unless he picks somebody up.
Yeah. Either he's going to...
Because McKissick's not the answer.
No. I think it's probably Lockett. Could be Mooney. I can see a case for both. I don't love Tyler Lockett, even though he had 2 touchdowns last week. He is your flash in the pan guy.
Yeah, I think you got Shane's gonna have some issues with Hilliard, and then if Harris really is not playing.
Yeah, but look at his bench. Who he's got at running back? He's got Travis Etienne and Jonathan Taylor.
He's got one back on the bench.
1.5. I think you've got to still respect Etienne's ability. You're a bitter Etienne owner right now.
Yep.
Who didn't sell at the right time.
Yep.
And now has seller's remorse. For anybody that's wondering, I did offer at the beginning of the season Kenny Walker for Travis Etienne. Nick, do you wish you would have taken that trade now?
Also, I was offered this trade for Damian Pierce.
We're not naming any names, though, Jeffrey.
So, buyer's, yeah.
Seller's remorse.
Seller's remorse major right now. I hate fantasy football.
But looking at this, I trust that Shane gets a lineup in. He's not going to start Dontrell Hilliard. I understand why he did that last week.
Oh yeah, he had a great game last week.
Damian Harris. Damian Harris is hurt. He's going to put Etienne. He's going to put Jonathan Taylor in. That's going to make a huge difference, and he's going to get a kicker that's actually playing this week.
This is true.
There's more known, and Carson Wentz. We talked about him. I think he might have a bounce back primetime game. Just a hunch.
Yeah, and unfortunately, he can't wait around to see if Bronco Man is going to be playing.
Bronco Country. Let's
That's right.
ride.
So, man, there's a lot of variables in this matchup.
Yep. So I'm looking at it. I'm going to pick Shayne. I like Shayne's. Shayne's got a little bit more solid play, especially with Jonathan Taylor. I think Jonathan Taylor has a bounce back week this week. I really do, and I think that's going to make a difference.
Out of the sake of being different, I'm going to pick Micah.
All right, so we started the rush report with doing opposites, and we're going to end it doing opposites. So here we are at the end of the rush report. Okay. This week, very well, this is a make or break week for a lot of players, a lot of us, me included. It's not a keeper league where you trade draft picks. It's literally a promotion and relegation. What's the word that I'm looking for?
I think it's long term. It's going to set you up for the playoffs.
Yeah, this week sets you up for the playoffs, and I in the Wii League you only have to be one of the top 6 teams, so that's huge.
Considering there's only what you said 11.
There's 11. So, and on bye this week in the Wii League. Sorry, Owen, we didn't forget about you, but you are on bye this week.
So like that's going to play a major factor. I mean, you just need to be in spitting distance, and you can just play your way in.
Mm-hmm.
I mean, your bottom. I mean, your top. You just got to be the top 8. I mean, the law of averages is about the same, and then if you're going to get into the realm of regulation, you want to at least be the top. Well, you want to be 9 and 10, not to play your way in.
You don't want to have to win 2, just 1. So this week's a big week, and bye weeks do play a huge part. You can catch a team on a bad bye week, so that's going to be huge moving forward.
Oh, absolutely.
But we've reached the end of the rush report, and for me personally, since fantasy football has not gone my way this year, I have a baseball game that I need to watch.
I got the Yankees,
Tomorrow.
Tomorrow, maybe, depending on weather.
But
and Syracuse is a top 20 football team.
Yes.
So that's important.
It's the first time in over 25 years that they have 2 top 25 teams playing in the Dome. I wish I was there. I wish I could go. I wish I could be part of the sellout. I went to the Clemson game a few years ago where it was absolutely ridiculously loud. I look for Saturday to be crazy against NC State.
And at least you didn't buy tickets for the 59-0 Wagner game. That was bad.
It was a birthday.
It's birthday. I stayed there for the whole game, so give me some credit. But that.
Were you on time?
I was on time. I was early.
Very good. All right, so that does it for another week of the Rush Report. Everybody, good luck, and make sure you get your lineup set. Especially pay attention to bye weeks, and please let us win this week. Win one.
Let me win, please.
We don't want to see Nick cry during the Rush Report next week.
Well, it's getting harder not to cry every single week.
All right. Thanks, everybody, and we'll see you next week.